Hello, today 10th September is the World Suicide Prevention Day, and the theme for the last 3 years, according to the World Health Organization, has been creating hope through action. So I've been reflecting on that, and I wanted to share a few thoughts about how as a community we could create hope through our action. One word that has been ringing in my heart over the last few days as I thought about the World Suicide Prevention Day has been the word vulnerability. How do we create vulnerability in our communities? Vulnerability that allows people to be trusting enough and to be vulnerable enough to share their weaknesses and their distresses, particularly at a time when they feel they have reached the end of their road. There are three things that come to mind in terms of creating an atmosphere where people feel vulnerable enough to share the most intimate emotions and thoughts that are in their hearts. One of them is for the person or for us as a community to be vulnerable ourselves. It takes a vulnerable person to be able to attract vulnerability from others. And that's something we could do to let down our guards more, particularly in the atmospheres that are right, so that others can feel that it's okay to share emotions, it's okay to be vulnerable. And particularly that could be important to people who are in position of leadership, people who carry clout, and people who are influential. One of the ways we can use our influences is to be more vulnerable so that others can feel it's okay to be vulnerable around us. The other thing that we can do in terms of promoting vulnerability with a view to prevent suicide in our communities is that we need to learn to handle other people's emotions in terms of when people become angry, when people cry, when people show sadness, rather than throw it back in their faces. It's important to actually help them to manage those emotions, to let them know that it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be upset, it's okay to feel disappointed, and it's also okay to express those thoughts. The way we handle people's emotions at a time when they are vulnerable could actually make them close up completely or help them to open up more. And I think that's another challenge to leadership. Anywhere where you are leading a church, a community, a charity, a corporate organization, the onus is on us in the way we handle other people's emotions at the period of their vulnerability, because it could either promote more vulnerability or actually make them make an inner vow to themselves never to open up again. And that can be a slippery slope for them. The third one that I wanted to talk about is developing our listening skills. Every one of us can be a better listener. We can be a better listener by listening to the spoken and unspoken messages. We can be a better listener by holding our tongue and trying to understand rather than listening to respond. Really trying to understand the message that is being passed across and reflecting before we then say anything. The other way we could be better listeners is to ask questions, really being open-minded without making any assumptions. So there are three things I've shared today about promoting vulnerability with a view to create action to prevent suicide. One of them is for us to be vulnerable ourselves. The other one is for us to let people know that it's okay to express their emotions and to handle those emotions appropriately. And the third point is really about letting people know that even when they express their emotions, that we are listening, and by developing our own listening skills. Once again, it is our own responsibility. It's a community global responsibility to prevent suicide. And I hope that you've got a few thoughts that you can take away with you to reflect on this Suicide Prevention Day. Thank you for listening.